now. This is McLean's, the right-hander with the ripples on the inside of the track. Still a difficult corner after all these years, Scott.
Yeah, it is. It hasn't improved over the years, but obviously I've only known it for a few of those years, Keith.
Yeah, thanks for that. Still, it's Hodgson that leads at Coppice. Now then, Chris Walker and John Reynolds and James Hayden are all lining up to go past the INS GSE Ducati of Neil Hodgson. Hodgson must win this race if he is going to force Chris Walker into an effort. Chris Walker can finish 3rd and 4th out of the 2 Superbike races today.
Neil walk away with championship.
That's it, right. You can still walk away with
Reynolds
the championship.
looks like he's just taking a watching brief. He's not pushing hard. He looks very, very smooth. In fact, he looks the most controlled out of these front 4. Looks like Hayden is just struggling to keep with the leading group at the moment.
Oh, John Reynolds looks at the inside of Chris Walker and comes under braking now down into the S's, and John Reynolds takes the place. Right, Chris Walker, that's one of your 3rd places used up.
I couldn't have called that more wrong, could I? I thought Reynolds was waiting for the accident to happen, but no, he wants to win this one.
Well, I think maybe the pace is just where John Reynolds wants it at the moment. So Reynolds, and straight back at him. Chris Walker goes straight under a red gate. Listen to the crowd here. They do love Chris Walker. No doubt about the crowd's favourite.
Yeah, Walker doesn't get out of the back straight that well, but he gets into the S's, the last corner, really well. So he gets the most immense amount of drive onto the start-finish straight. And you saw him looking almost effortless as he went up the inside at Redgate.
This is where Hodgson looks so good down at the old hairpin as well. Hayden's right there. Let's take another look at this passing manoeuvre. There is Hodgson in front. We're on board with John Reynolds and repaying him immediately, Chris Walker. Chris Walker back on the gas along Hollywood as he continues his way.
Reynolds obviously felt confident he had the pass done. So
here we go.
Defensive line, didn't
Chris Walker took a look. Look at how good Hodgson was on the brakes there as Reynolds goes round the outside. Reynolds round the outside. Oh dear me, that would have been a hell of a move. But the S is in fact not often seen.
No, I think the only person we've seen do that is John Reynolds.
Yes, indeed. So, Chris Walker in the perfect place now to pass up the inside into Redgate. Goes for the inside on Hodgson at Redgate. Yes, and the crowd scream again for him. So, Chris Walker has made, well, there is a bar there, I suppose. It's where everybody's hanging out the window at the moment watching this race. Now then, Chris Walker, the one place where he looks weak to me on that Suzuki is out onto that back straight, the rear end of the bike. Just don't look to see if it's got the drive. Doesn't seem to have the traction out onto the back straight. Look for it again for me, Scott, this time.
I don't know if it's the engine or if it just doesn't mechanically hook up and the rear tyre doesn't get any grip.
Just looks
so
like he's
one or the other.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that. We're on board with Neil Hodgson, looking back now at the 3rd place man, number 3, John Reynolds, closing in at McLean's. That's Hayden behind us on bike number 5. These 4 are the top 4 in the championship. In fact, they're in the order of the championship at this moment in time.
Yeah, Reynolds doesn't mind running with a bit of corner speed through McLean's, does he?
So then, there, yes, and Colin Wright agrees with you. So Colin Wright, manager to Neil Hodgson in 2nd place at the moment. Walker comes to the top of the hill. Coppice. Now then, Chris Walker, well, if he wins this race, he's won the championship, full stop.
Yeah, and he's got the advantage that he needs to stay ahead by the time they get to the S's.
So we're coming through Coppice corner now, at the top of the corner. That is Steve Plater, that is Neil McKenzie, that is John Crawford, that is Chris Walker's teammate. There is Chris Walker's team manager, Paul Denning, to the right of your picture. And Chief Mechanic hanging in there as well, looking suitably cool. Oh, down to the old hairpin. Now it is surely not round the outside of the old bearing.
He's going to get more drive out the old hairpin. I think he'll beat him to the top of the hill.
Well, we're going to find out in a moment or two. He's got to work his way round the outside into the braking area of McLean's, and I'll tell you, that takes a really good move. Too far back to do that one this time, Scott, I reckon.
Walker's brilliant into McLean's. We see Walker make passes there. We don't see many people try and pass Walker there, though.
He's a hustler, isn't he? As soon as you get to them slow, scratchy type corners, Chris Walker is brilliant. Into Coppice, backs it into Coppice, manages to get it all hooked back up again before it slides off into the sandpit. This is where I reckon he loses a bit of drive here. Didn't get a good view of it there, but just spins that rear wheel up a bit and gives the drive. Don't forget that Ducati.
Look, the Ducati's driving past.
That was the other thing I was about to say. It's also very, very fast in a straight line. So through goes the GSE Ducati. Some of Troy Bayliss's World Superbike parts are on that INS Ducati for Neil Hodgson here. They've drafted a few of the quick bits across so that Hodgson has got every advantage at this final round. Reynolds are on board with, looking at the first 2. Walker is in 2nd place, just in front of us. Let's have a look at his tyre wear. Seems all right to me, Scott.
I think it's going too fast to be able to make a good judgment on
well,
that.
You know,
and he likes it sideways anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Hollywood, Craner curves, back marker goes backwards there. Blue flag's being waved down towards the old hairpin. Back down in the 2nd gear if you're on a Ducati. I've no idea if you're on a 4-cylinder. So through the right-hander, up under Starkey's Bridge now. Huge banking here. They reckon only 20,000 people have come through the gate. I think that was for tax purposes. Through the left-hander into McLean's now. 2nd gear again for the Ducatis. back on the gas, up to third gear and heading up the hill to Coppice. I always found this a very difficult corner. You can't see the apex of the corner, and with all the slippery stuff that's all over the track, really awkward.
It's especially difficult today. Walker doesn't seem to be too affected by it, but Hodgson's looked a little bit nervous in there once or twice. If you run too wide, then you're going to be off today.
Well, I reckon it's a real toss-up between knowing what you've got to do and knowing where the championship is. The only thing that Neil Hodgson has in his mind is the fact he's got to win the race. He cannot afford not to, and Reynolds takes Walker out wide, so Reynolds goes through and forces Walker back into that third place, and if it all, just as Hodgson almost chucks himself over the high side coming out of the hairpin. Wow!
Hodgson needed a rear view mirror, then he needed to know to back off slightly.
Last lap though, he knows he's got to win it. He wouldn't have realised that Reynolds has just pinched that second place from Walker, forced Walker into third place. That is the best case scenario as far as Neil Hodgson is concerned, although he's still, even if they finish like this, Walker has still got to finish lower than fourth place to lose this championship in race 2. Walker can afford to sit here. Well, he got cut all the way through these back markers. Yeah, that's a bit of a snag through here.
Yeah, and he hasn't given up yet. You saw how sideways it was out of the old hairpin there, so he's going to try all he can to get past Reynolds.
Well, I'd have said that it was going against his plan anyway. I would have reckoned Chris Walker was going to go out to try and win this race and have this championship sewn up in race 1 today. Weaving their way through 66, that is Paul Free of the Australian on the Maiko Motorsport Kawasaki. Out of the right-hander Coppice for the last time. Then we have just the S's to go now. Looking the wrong side there. 88 is Colin Hipwell on the Team Phoenix Suzuki, but down to the S's for the last time. Neil Hodgson sits on 25 points. There will be 20 points go to John Reynolds and only 16 to Chris Walker. It's going to go right to the wire. The INS Ducati team are ecstatic. Neil Hodgson has shifted the pressure onto Chris Walker's shoulders. He finishing only in third place. He's going to have to race all the way to the end of the series. Hodgson celebrates 22 laps at 94.15 miles an hour. John Reynolds second, Chris Walker third, and INS Ducati are ecstatic. Paolo Gibatti is there. He is the export manager, in other words, the man who sells racing motorcycles around the world. There he is on the right. He's here to keep an eye on what's going on in England. And what is going on in England is he's just seen Ducati finish in first and second. One INS Ducati, one Reve Red Bull Ducati. The National Tyre Suzuki man forced down to third. And there's the confirmation of the top 3 on the podium. Hodgson, Reynolds and Walker. James Hayden, a good ride for him in fourth place. Steve Plater, another fine ride on the Kawasaki, fifth. Neil McKenzie, just one ride away from retirement. As we look down the order and look up, John Crockford, what a great ride that was for him in 11th place. Don't forget, he's riding with a broken leg. Gordon Blackley in second place in the Privateers now puts the pressure right on Dave Hill, who could only finish in 17th place overall. So Dave Hill, well, not enough points for him to be safe yet. Gordon Blackley is on a charge. And so is Neil Hodgson. He's with Claire.
What went through your mind when Walker was leading? Because it could have all slipped away, but now it's 12 points.
Yeah, just not to let him win, really. Just beat him at all costs. You know, that's basically the long and short of it. You know, I couldn't afford not to win, or else I wouldn't win the championship. So, still in with a chance. You know, stranger things have happened.
You certainly are phenomenally fast out there. Have you noticed the difference on this?
Yeah, there's definitely, the bike feels pretty quick, but it's been quick all year. You know, I think I've had the fastest bike all year. I've got a really good team behind me, so it does help.
Chris, you could taste the championship there, couldn't you?
Well, I knew it was going to be tough today. You know, the Ducati boys are going really, really well. And I wanted to win it, as you can imagine, get it all over and done with. But we've got another race to do it in this afternoon. Hopefully it'll stay dry. Bike was flying, just got a little bit of the Ducati seemed to have the edge on me down the back straight, just kept murdering me a bit down there. But other than that, we're on it.
2 third positions is all it takes. Surely that's not too much to ask from the stalker.
Well, if everything goes to plan, we'll be all right.
Well, John, it was a 3-way scrap for the title. Now it's obviously just 2 of them left in it, but that was a very brave race.
I enjoyed every minute of that, Claire, to be honest with you. Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, Chris and Neil have been riding well all year. I mean, I've been up there and thereabouts, but they've been consistently fast all year. Now the championship for me is over. I can actually say how I feel. You know, and they've been riding out their skin, and hats off to them.
Yes, John Reynolds then confirmed that even if he wins the last race of the year, 25 points will only equal him on the points that Walker has at the moment, and he will lose on countback. So Walker and Hodgson, the last 2 standing in the shootout to be British Superbike champion. Same situation in the Privateers. Heel and Blackley are just separated by 7 points. Crockford could be the spoiler amongst them. John Crockford, the winner of the Privateer race. Part 1 here at Donington Park. Neil Hodgson the winner of the Factories Race Part 1 here at Donington. We have one more 22-lap race to go this year. But before the Superbikes, we catch up with the concluding parts of the 250 and Supersports Championships. That's next.